Welcome to the Oshner Andrew Sports Medicine Podcast Institute podcast studio up here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to my guy, Matt Bowers. This is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. Derek Carr is not playing this week. What are the Saints going to do? We're going to talk about that and all the decisions that go into that. Can they protect with that offensive line? How do they succeed? Is the season over? Can they stay on track? Can they get back on track? We're going to break all that down and so much more on this episode. And if you are in the market for a new car, make sure you check out my guy, Matt, at one of his many locations. He'll get you right with the best prices and the best customer care. And he's been ringing my phone talking about how they got to start Spencer Rattler. We'll see if we agree with that take on this show right after this quick intro and word from our sponsors. Oshner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. He's Mike Triplett. That's Brandon Thomas. What are we talking about today? What do we got?
You know, there's this big thing hanging over the, whole fan base right now, kind of just maybe who will be playing at quarterback this week. But let's get into our first segment presented by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints. What will the Saints do without Derek Carr? Derek Carr, he went out in the fourth quarter of Monday's game with an oblique injury. Yesterday it came out that he will miss multiple weeks. That was from Ian Rappaport. So what's the plan now? Who are the Saints going with?
I think they should go with Spencer Rattler. I think that's probably the play that you got to go with. No disrespect to Jake Haener. I think he's a good backup. I think he made it a good battle throughout the preseason. But coming out of that, I mean, the guy that I thought was ahead was Rattler. I thought Rattler should have been the backup quarterback when they need somebody to start a game. It would be completely nonsensical for me to sit here and say that it should be somebody else. I think he's the guy that they should go with. And there's a handful of reasons for that. And I would say top of that list, number one, there's two quarterbacks behind Derek Carr. One of them was picked by the offensive staff. One of them was not. That doesn't mean they don't like Jake Haener, but they saw Spencer Rattler and said, oh, he can fit. He's a guy we can develop. We like his skill set. It fits what we want to do. So if you are sitting down and you are making a game plan for a game, at that point, let them coach with the people they want, because you know what? Season's on the line. Jobs might be on the line. If you're going to go down swinging with the people that you brought aboard the ship, not the people.
The holdovers.
Yeah. And the holdover's a crazy word, because I really, really, really think they like Haener. They made him the backup quarterback for a reason. There's things about his skill set that in emergency, they must like him better in that setting. But it's a whole different game when you're sitting down and you're saying, okay, let's put this together. What's our best chance to succeed if we are making a plan? And if that's their guy, that's their guy. And that's who I think they should go with.
I think there's some element to being a whole different game when you're on a 3-game losing streak too. Honestly, like whatever theory made sense that Haener's the guy who would come into a game or be like a temporary caretaker. And I mean, I think it's fair, not just because of Spencer Rattler's talent makeup, but just the fact that he's a rookie, that there's a little bit more boom or bust potential with him, like higher ceiling, possibly lower floor. I don't know if that's fair to say he has a lower floor than Jake Haener, because we don't know much about Jake Haener. But I think if you're looking at it now, it's like, we got to win this game. Not like we got to get by this week. We got to win both these games, one or two of these games, at home against Tampa, at home against Denver. And everything else goes out the window besides who gives us the best chance to win behind a shaky offensive line with the current makeup of this team. And so I thought, I think I predicted back in our days when we were sitting in that California studio. I mean, I think we said it feels like they're going to go with Haener as the backup, but if Carr were to miss 4 weeks or 6 weeks or the rest of the season, maybe they would go with Rattler. This is something in between. This is just 2 weeks, but it feels like a long time because the season's on the line in these 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the boomer busting, I think there's been some, we've seen bust with Rattler in the preseason. We've seen the same bust from Jake.
Fair,
so I think the
fair.
same bust potential's there. I think the boom's bigger with this guy. Just pointing it out just to be totally, so it's not all hype. Like, he was terrible against the 49ers. Like, he was legitimately bad against San Francisco in that game. And it felt bad watching it. And that was a game where there were some Sunday players on the field in that game, and it was not great. So just to be completely fair to the process, just because we're saying that's the guy, it doesn't mean that we think that's who's gonna. I don't know if anyone can succeed right now. It's a very, very, very hard job behind this offensive line. They were blocking nothing last week. The interior was non-existent. And granted, Chris Jones, different blocking assignment, but it was horrible. Like, you had people missing assignments. You had guys coming through free. You had running backs not picking up blitzers. You had it was broken. It was some of the worst protection I've seen in a game, and it's not a surprise. Like, it's not a surprise it was bad, because they didn't look good. Like, they just didn't look good, and they shouldn't have been expected to look good. So whatever quarterback's back there, I think is going to have a hard time with it. Given that, I will say this too. I think every quarterback is system dependent. Every single quarterback is system dependent to some degree. And people act like that's a horrible thing. Patrick Mahomes might be the only guy that is not system dependent. He can kind of do his own thing. He's on an island by himself. Everybody else is over here. You need good blocking, because not everybody can just, I don't even know how Mahomes does it. He's not fast, but not everybody can be that slippery. Not everybody can just make a play on their own outside of the script to everything. Yeah. Most people need good blocking, good play design to succeed. So that's not a terrible thing. And I think all these guys are the same. But I think that Spencer, in a situation of chaos, might be the best equipped out of all three of them to handle it. Because We saw it at South Carolina.
Yeah.
We saw him get his ass kicked play after play after play. He's getting hit. He's on the run. He's on the move. He's got to create on his own. And it didn't matter. Like, it didn't affect him. You didn't see him start flinching and ducking. It was just, all right, I'm going to stand back here and get the shit kicked out of me again, but I'm going to make the throw. And, I don't give a damn what happens. I'm doing this. And, like, that's what he had to do to succeed. He got sacked 71 times in 2 seasons. And it wasn't really, sometimes sacks can be a quarterback stat. It didn't look like that was a quarterback stat. It looked like he was playing behind
protection.
Yeah,
bad
there were
offensive line.
some stats on like his offensive, like the offensive line turnover at South Carolina was very similar to what the Saints are going through right now.
Yeah.
It was like a new guy that he had just met every
So
week. Yeah,
he's trained for this. He grew up in it. Like, it's what he's built for. And I like that idea of it. But point 3, and I'll pass it off after this because I've been talking for a long time. I think if you think you have something here, like, you have to find out. And it might be hard to really see exactly what you have under these circumstances, but you can see some of it. You're going to be able to see something if there's something there. Yeah. And if there's nothing there, you're going to be able to know there's nothing there. So you're never going to have the perfect opportunity. It's never going to be everything set up. Let's get the guy that's our emergency quarterback on Sunday into the games and see what he has. Like, it's never going to be there. They're always going to be too close if Derek's healthy. This is the situation that exists. I think you put him out there and you find out, and if you have something, now you know. If you don't, okay, you're starting over again this offseason, and you aren't gripping on to some hope of something. So just find out. Like, this is a situation that exists. You might be starting a rebuild, relaunch, whatever at some point. Yeah. If he's part of it, find out. Like, don't just try to like figure it out in the preseason and then, okay, he's going to be the starter. Oh, wait, he can't handle it when they're actually blitzing and all this stuff. So just figure it out and find out what you can do.
You talked for a long time because a lot goes into this. I mean, like there's who's better today. And I actually think they're making that decision based on that. I completely agree with your point 3, which is to find out. But I don't think we're there yet. I think it's still early October, and it's still just 2 weeks. I don't think this is a 2025 decision yet. I think this is a who gives us the best chance to win. I think
a quick interruption.
Yeah.
Like, we found out Taysom wasn't it in the 3-game sample. You can find out. You can find out.
You can
like
find out.
Taysom was the heir apparent until that second Falcons game or the Eagles game.
I'm not disagreeing with. That's like a bonus. You can find out. That'll be valuable. But I don't think they make this decision for any other reason than how do we sneak a win out of these next 2 weeks. I don't think they would. I don't think they'd be like, well, let's take these 2 weeks to take a look at the young kid or whatever. This has turned into gotta win situation, and I like from the inklings we've been able to find out. And just me like reading the situation, I think they're choosing Rattler because I think they think he gives them the best chance to win these games. I don't think this is an evaluation decision is all I'm saying, but that is a bonus that you're going to find out from this decision. But do you think in addition to the toughness, I think people immediately think you get a mobility advantage? You think you definitely get a mobility advantage?
If you go this direction with him, yeah, I think you get a mobility advantage. Look, I'm just saying, like the find out, like if it's a coin flip and you're trying to decide which guy we're going with,
and it kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rattler's just better though.
Yeah,
I've always thought he was just better, like
pure.
Yeah, I kind of like in. I think Jake had a really good camp. I think he kept it close. Like it was close, but like I've always thought he was better. If they go with him, yeah, they're going to go with the guy they think is better. I don't see how you get to the other play. The only reason it's murky is because Jake is the backup. So that seems like he's been anointed. So in a typical situation, you just go with the backup. But I feel like they're going to go with Rattler, but I don't know yet. We're going to see. We haven't been out of practice. It hasn't been laid out yet. So if it is a Rattler decision, and it seems like it's going to be a Rattler decision, I think that's how it happens. The mobility thing. I mean, I think Jake's mobility gets discounted. I read a couple stories by people, and they were just like, "This guy can move around." And Jake is a pocket extender. Like he's a guy on the move big time. So I think he can do a lot of it. I think the difference is I think he gives you more scramble ability. Like if there's something there, it's just kind of in his instinct to kind of there's a hole there, and I can get 6, and 6 is a good play. I can get 4. 4 takes it to 2nd and 6, so might as well just get the 4 now and go for the 6 on the next down. So I think that's the difference.
I also liked Rattler rolling out, moving in the pocket, and still making the throw. I thought he made throws on the run in camp really good. It was one of the most impressive things he did. And
Jake
I think
does too, though. Yeah,
I know. I think Rattler's the better. Rattler's got the higher upside, the more talent, the higher highs. I think that we saw, but I don't think it's any shame to anybody to say that it was a coin flip all along. I mean, none of us were shocked when they picked Haener as the backup. It was close enough that we never had. There was never it wasn't like Dustin Hopkins and Zach Hocker for kicker 10 years ago when everyone could see that it was clearly Dustin Hopkins, and we were shocked with the decision we made. This was close all summer, but I think if you got to win a game, you throw everything else out the window and you look at this and you decide who gives us the best chance to win, and that's why I think it'll be Rattler too.
Kind of rolling the clock back to Monday's game, when Derek Carr went down with the oblique injury, this is not the first time we've seen an oblique injury to a Saints quarterback. Kind of, what's the timetable on that?
Yeah, so I researched this as much as I could. I talked to people who are in that field. I talked to I just like Googled old stories, talked to some sources close to familiar with what reports Carr got and everything like that, and they all kind of fit into this 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes one. Brock Purdy a couple years ago, they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
There's minor, there's extensive, but Brock Purdy had one a couple years ago, and he played that Thursday night, like 3 days later after he didn't throw in practice all week, and that was kind of shocking. Christian McCaffrey last year played, didn't miss a game even though he had one. But the Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers right now, he's going to come back after 3 weeks. Anthony Richardson looks like he's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. Drew Brees a couple years ago in the preseason was 2 or 3 weeks, and they said he was being extra cautious. It probably would have been shorter. So I think, knowing what we know about Carr, I think he'd probably be fighting to just miss one game. But since it's Thursday night next week, I feel like maybe 2 games. I think by the time we get to that Chargers game in Week 8, we'll be seeing Carr try to go. Depending on how extensive it is, maybe that's questionable. But I don't think we're looking at over a month.
The thing that I would be cautious with those things is if you come back too soon, like it messes with your mechanics. And I don't know if he's good enough to be someone with bad mechanics. I think he needs to make sure he's right 100% and go out there and make sure you're playing the right way. And yeah, it's a 2 to 4 is everything I read, and I've read a lot of things that if you come back under 4, there's a lot of times that like a quarterback just isn't right. If they do it. I mean, look, it's all torque, and when you're trying to make them deep throws down the field, like, and that's a big part of this offense. Like, if you're eliminating that from his repertoire right now, what is he? Like, I don't know that he's giving you a big portion of his success so far has been those deep balls. And I thought he's played well outside of that game. Outside of this last game, I think he's been pretty good all season. This was a terrible game for him, though. I mean, it did not look good. Affected by phantom pressure, affected by real pressure. That 3rd and 8 throw was I've got it in the film study on the site. Like it was an egregious like hurrying up of self. That deep one to Shaheed, second to last throw, really bad. Like, you had one-on-one with a good throw, he might score. And if you don't want that, and you aren't kind of like going way too fast and freaking out a little bit in the pocket, over on the left side you have Chris Olave open 2 yards wide open beyond the marker for a first down. So you could have got to your read and got to there, or you could have thrown a better ball, put it on the 10, and Shaheed might score. It was tough. That was kind of the culmination of it. And the tough thing for Derek is I felt like he's handled pressure pretty well all season until this game. Like, there's been a couple outlier moments. The Philadelphia one, obviously, they bring it and you kind of put it up. I think he got really lucky on that throw to Tipton that it went where it went, and Tipton didn't catch it. I mean, that's the same kind of style of pick that he had against Philly, but you're in cover 0, you're getting blitzed, it's 4th down. If you get sacked, you're dead anyhow, so you might as well just kind of go for it. Almost got picked again on that one to Shaheed down the middle of the field. But I thought he's handled pressure pretty well. He delivered some throws getting hit in this game too. He got jackknifed on the touchdown throw. So I mean, it isn't all terrible, but yeah. I don't know what we were talking about.
Well, look, you made an excellent point, though. I mean, Drew Brees said in 2014 that he came back from that oblique injury after 2 weeks, but he revealed the next year that it messed with his mechanics all season and other things. Like, I think he said he got a shoulder issue later in the year because of it.
You're going to start throwing with your
shoulder
shoulder
instead of the entire offseason, like, resetting his mechanics with Tom House. Like, he admitted that when he came back from that, it threw him off.
And even with that, what offensive line are you going to play by? You know what I mean? Like, what version of the offensive line is going to be out there? If you rush yourself in there, the offensive line still isn't right. You're just, like y'all said, opening yourself up to more, more injuries. But to round out this quarterback topic, we saw a little bit of Jake Haener. Kind of, what did you pull from his short sample size that he provided?
He was set up to fail, man. Completely set up to fail. You're in a horrible situation. Your offensive line's completely injured. You're trailing. You're trying to come back in the game. They know you're throwing on every down. You've had no time to prepare for anything. I mean, that's a ridiculous evaluation. It's just you can't take anything from that. I mean, it's a dummy mission. Like, he was sent out there to die in that spot. Honestly, I thought he did it. He should have had 2 more completions there. The one that Chris, like, he put it right on him. Like, that's a catch you kind of got to make. There was another one that I think was dropped. He almost hit this like throw on the run where the guy was closing in, and like he hit like a Mahomes arm angle like around him to throw around the rush to Alvin. It was a crazy throw. It was a little bit behind him. Like, if he completes that, like that's an incredible moment for him. I think there's a lot to still like about him. It's just this guy we have on the screen, 18. That's a guy I want to see out there. And as far as the timeline, it's interesting because there's 2 things here. If he's playing well in your car, you're probably trying to get back really fast.
Shoot.
If the team's sinking, you probably feel a responsibility to get back really fast. And that's kind of the guy that, say what you want about him. Like, knowing him, I think he cares a lot about his team and his teammates. And I think if things were going bad, he'd want to get back fast. But he's also smart enough to know that people can lose their jobs too. It's going to be a fascinating situation. It's going to be tough to succeed, man. But if this guy's killing it, like, I hope he does, because I want to be having those conversations. I want to be able to talk about it.
It'd be nice to be talking about the 4-3 Saints with the hottest rookie in the league. No matter who's going to be finishing the year at starting quarterback, it'd be nice if this team gets back on track.
Even if they aren't winning and he looks good and there looks like there's potential, I think it creates a very interesting situation. I mean, just any team in the world would love their backup quarterback, their rookie, to come in and prove that he's worth it. You know, that's the dream right there. If you found one, especially in the 5th round, like, you found one. The odds of that happening, though, I think, I'm just saying it realistically, and I'm not saying he can't succeed, and I'm just saying, like, as a realist, being pragmatic about it, like, I think it's going to be very hard to succeed in this situation. I don't think this is, if your ideal scenario of, hey, we're going to put Spencer Rattler in here and see what he's got. Like, you're protecting him. You're trying to make things as unchaotic as possible, because this is a 5th round pick. It's a rookie, any rookie, 1st or 5th round pick. That doesn't even matter. The processing isn't the same. You're learning how to read the field. You're trying to pick up a new offense, all that stuff. Like, trying to make everything as calm as possible so that your mind can just focus on, all right, I'm going to make my reads. I'm going to get the ball out. That's not the job right now. It's not with that interior. I guess that all they can do is hope that Ruiz comes back, or something like that. But I haven't caught wind that that's going to happen. So, tough situation. Excited to see if it is him, what he can do, and let's find out.
Ruiz better be close to coming back. I mean, they didn't place him on IR, and if he's not coming back in the next 9 days, he's missing 4 games. But sometimes they make that decision on a hope, but that's fine.
Let's roll into our next segment, presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. This team is now on a 3-game losing streak, and this one was different. It wasn't they won on the last minute field goal. They gave up a fluke big play. They just straight up got beat. So what went wrong against Kansas City?
Everything went wrong against Kansas City, but especially all the things we worried about all season long. I mean, the offensive line was finally exposed as one that you just can't compete with. Especially against a good defense like this. I did not like this. Is the first time Clint Kubiak didn't look like the man with the answers. I mean, I don't know how much of it was Kubiak and how much of it was Derek Carr's decision making, but I just hated seeing our only hope is the deep ball. ESPN put out a stat that he was 2 of 9 on passes with 15 or more air yards. Man, that felt like some games we've seen in the past where they're just like chucking it with no other plan, and I hated seeing that, because I felt like he had a smart plan to work around this deficient offensive line in every other game, and I didn't feel that plan today. But if you can't run the ball, and they couldn't run the ball, there were 3rd and longs, they were down on the scoreboard. It was everything we worried that was going to happen to this team, and then on top of all that, the defense was lousy. It was the worst defensive performance of the year too, so they didn't keep you close on the scoreboard either.
I disagree a little bit on that. Like, I didn't, and especially after watching it back, like, I did not mind the big play hunting, because I don't think that they had the ability to block successfully for 15 plays in a row. And if you had a glimmer, a window to get it out, like it felt like that was maybe their only chance of having success and maybe scoring points. Because it's like if you have 3 good plays in that game, if you hit on 3 of them, like you might find a way to win the game. Like you're getting yourself close. You're giving maybe you score on one of them plays, but I don't think they had the ability because if you're gonna, what was it? So you need to score 4 times. So you probably need 60 plays of, 15 play drives if you're kind of doing quick game or whatever. I just think they're kind of screwed right now. Like I don't know how you go about it. There might be a better way. You might be able to like pick and pop your way down the field, but you're down Taysom. Alvin's like super banged up. Chris is kind of an afterthought in the game. Like it just, I don't know. I don't know what they could have done in that game, but it felt helpless. And at least when he hit that big play to Shaheed, like it was like, okay,
hey, there's something.
Yeah.
And he could have hit some of the other ones. Some of the other ones were close, but that's sort of the point too. Like the fact that he could have hit 2 to Mason Tipton, and one time Mason Tipton ran the wrong way to where Carr threw it because those two have barely worked together. And the other time, Mason Tipton couldn't reel it in. It's like, all right, so why are you throwing those passes to Mason Tipton? And then the other thing is, when you're doing that on 2nd and 8, then it's 3rd and 8, and you have no good plays in the playbook. And the time of possession in this game, the defense was on the field for 40 minutes, and you were only on the field for 20 minutes because you were doing that. So if that doesn't work, you just dig the hole deeper and
no
deeper.
doubt, but they couldn't run either because they couldn't block. So it's just like it was just it was a screwed situation. Like I don't know what you do about it, but when you can't block at all, it's just kind of like, do you just start throwing haymakers? Like if someone's jabbing you to death, like do you just like, well, I got to knock him out because I'm not winning on the scorecards here, so I got to find a way to put this guy on the canvas. Like that's kind of how it felt to me a little bit. But it was bad. But there were a few of them though, like Shaheed. Look, Derek threw some terrible passes, but it wasn't just him. Like the Shaheed one where Shaheed thought it was back shoulder and stopped running. If he just ran through that, maybe it's a touchdown there. Like there were opportunities there. Like they didn't execute it. It was a tough game. The one thing that I thought went wrong in this game, my biggest takeaway though, is just the effectiveness of the blitz. And I am shocked that it took until this point in the season for a team to just say, oh, their offensive line is terrible. Let me do everything I can to try to make them block and get them off balance and create advantages. And they got guys out, so the communication ain't going to be good. Like, I'm surprised it took this long to get there, but I fear now that this is what it's going to be every week. And Tampa likes to blitz a lot, and they just saw a team blitz successfully. I think it's going to be very important for them to have a better protection plan this week.
Copy and paste that defensive game plan. And that's the thing. Like, the red button was pressed so early in the game because there was no protection. They had 46 total rushing yards between A.K. Williams and Haener. How long do you think the longest run?
You can't use a red button analogy because, like, the red button was a pop gun. It went bang and the little flag came out. Like, this isn't,
But
wait, their longest run? You're asking us what was their longest?
Yeah. What do you think the longest run
Look,
was?
you're right. They had more rushing yards than I thought. 6.
9 between all of them.
Yeah, it was rough.
All of them was 9.
Worse. Yeah, I agree with what else are you going to do with no offensive line? And that's why Clint Kubiak, I was ready to hire him as my next head coach for any team in the league when he came up with something that worked at Dallas and when he came up with something that worked at Atlanta. I think this time it was kind of we don't have anything that's going to work, so we're just going to try to throw deep.
Yeah, at some point it's too much.
Yeah.
At some point you've lost too many players, and it's whatever. Everybody's missing players, and you got to overcome it. And you got to find ways to win. And it was an incredibly disappointing game. But at some point, like it's a lot. It's a lot to overcome, and that was a lot to overcome. I mean, it's just tough, and there just wasn't enough in the cupboard. I don't know how else to put it. Like, you got to find a way to win, and it's on your coaching to do that and all that. So, at the end of the season, I'm not coming back and giving passes on anything or anything like that. But just logically, like when you're starting guys that were on practice squads 4 days ago and all, like it's a tough spot to be in.
Yep. Now let's roll on to our next segment presented by Urban South. Going to the defensive side of the ball, they've been attacking. One player, Paulson Adebo. Paulson Adebo had another pass interference call that just was costly. Is he the weak link when it comes to deep balls?
Yeah, I mean, Nick asked it in the post game. He pointed it out before the game, feels even more strongly after the game.
Yeah.
How do you not test that, especially when you got Xavier Worthy and his 4.2 speed? How do you not keep testing that when Adebo has shown you time and time again he's going to keep giving that to you?
Yeah.
3 the week before, and probably 2 in this game. He got away with the first one. They did it again and got, a blatant, obvious pass interference call. Why not keep trying that? I mean, and look, Adebo makes plays too, so you don't want to curtail his aggressiveness. You don't want to tell him he has to play differently. I looked up. I assumed he was going to be the NFL leader in penalties for DBs this year. The other 2 with 7 and 8 are Terrion Arnold from Detroit and Patrick Surtain from Denver. So he's in good company in that those guys are just like, hey, I'm going to go at you. I'm not saying he belongs in that company, but so it is tough. Joe Woods always has a good line for it. He said, the first one's on me. I want you to play aggressive. I'm going to give you a flag and not even blame you for it. You can't get 3 in a game, though. Can't get 2 in a game. You can't be so predictable that you're never going to make that play. I can't believe he hasn't learned how to try to turn around. He doesn't even bother trying to turn around. That's what bothers me so much about those.
If you're talking about a guy that's struggling to get his head around and see him, like even when the receiver turns around, which was the case 2 weeks ago on the costly one against Atlanta that cost him the game, what is the downside? Like, what is the downside there? He's not going to get around to make a play on it. So it's a very low percentage pick play. So I would do it, and then I would do it again. And I think we've seen Kansas City do it. He got away with a little push off on the face. Like on the replay, you saw it. You saw he played it wrong. So you come right back to it because, okay, he got away with one there, but he's not going to get away with it again. Now, granted, he has this weird ability. Every single time you want to be mad at him for doing something, it's like he turns around and creates a turnover. So that's the thing that I think kind of keeps him on the field. But you have to clean that up. And he is the guy that you want to be throwing the ball at right now. He has been targeted 52 times this year. You know who's second on that list and what the number is? Taylor at 34. That's a big change. And you're in the slot. Those are like short, shallow passes. Yeah. So those are often where a lot of passes are going. Marshawn's been throwing at 9 times this year. Like you are just throwing, like teams are going at Adebo right now. He's given up 350 yards overall this season. Like teams want to throw at him, and that's not counting the penalties. So that number is probably easily over 500 when you factor all those in 5 games. Like he's good for $1 every game. Like that's got to change. You just drafted a guy in the 2nd round. Like you can't have like loose ends here. So I think the leash should be short, honestly. I don't know if they're taking him out yet, but like I think the leash should be very short on him. If it wasn't for that turnover ability, like he would be, I think he'd be out of there. But like DA loves stealing possessions, and it's easy to look at it and say, well, he atoned for it. Like, what was the damage? Okay, the damage was real in like 1 game, but
2 things. Kubiak should borrow from that and have Spencer Rattler come in the game and just chuck deep and try to get those PI penalties. Good strategy when you're desperate. But a quick aside
maybe that's what Derek was doing.
Quick aside on your speed trap analogy. How many times would you have to get a ticket for making that illegal right turn behind the target where it says you're not supposed to turn right to get onto the front edge before you'd stop doing it?
The only time I do that on the frontage is when it's just like backed up.
Which is
like,
every time.
Well, it wasn't today, so I did
giving away locations, man. They might have cops watch this shit.
I should ask my wife Sarah the same question. But
the only time I do
how many times do they have to pop you before you stopped? Once or like 7, like Paulson Adebo?
Probably once or twice. Yeah, I mean, like
7, you wouldn't get to 7.
Yeah, well, I mean, they get me on the traffic cams all the time because like I forget they're there, and it's just like I'm driving, and I'm like just driving with the flow of traffic, and you hit one, or it's like you're going 27, and it's like school time or whatever, like so. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you feel like you're creeping and then, like, you look down, you're like, damn, I was going 7 over, and they get you, and then you get the letter. But, like, that one, like, where you're physically getting pulled over, like, once or twice. But the only time I do that is when I'm just, like, parked there, and, like, I'm waiting for the light to turn. It's like, all right, I'm not doing this. Like,
some engineering specialist needs to figure something out there because it's every time.
Because, like, if traffic's flowing and you hit that, like, you are slowing down traffic because like you gotta like do the turn, and like you're an asshole if you do that. Like, but like when it's already stopped and like you aren't preventing anyone from going, I feel like it should be a gray area.
Just gotta make it happen.
Yeah.
Finishing off with Adebo. I think the phrase we could go for that is the Magooisms. You know what I mean? He always finds a way to make a turnover in his turnover ability. So you put me on who Mr. Magoo was, and I was like, who is that? Then I looked it up and I was like, all right, this makes sense. So Paulson,
The thing with Magoo though is like bad things never happen. He isn't atoning. Like he just steps over danger. Like it's like things just work out for him.
Yeah.
Things aren't always working out for Paulson Adebo right now.
for sure. And then to finish off from the quarterback conversation from earlier, Nick Stradamus, he hits again because he wrote about the backup quarterbacks last week. So, hey man,
That is true.
Tapped in all the way.
I didn't know.
No, I know.
gentleman
No
was gonna
way
get
You
it.
you
didn't
would have
know
known.
Derek Carr was going to be suffer a 3-week injury.
I was just interested on how things were
Yeah.
going behind the scenes.
Facts.
Like we're at a quarter point in
It's
the
a great
season.
story. Check it out on the website.
Yeah. So yeah, that was I don't know. I don't want to like.
Did
it
he
just-
Magoo into that one?
Maybe things worked out on that one. But no, like I was just trying to write a good story. Like
Yeah,
I'm
no,
interested
yeah.
in him.
Yeah.
And like it was Mahomes week, and like people call Rattler Mini Mahomes on Twitter. Like it felt like it just kind of like tied in. Like it felt like the right time to like go ask questions about how they're doing. And then the other thing is there aren't a lot of players in the locker room this year, so when the practice squad guys are like sitting around, you
Right.
can kind of get some insight into some things. And that was one of the things where there were some good insights into those guys.
Many Mahomes, but no Dylan Raiola. Not on that.
I mean, I don't know.
Not on that
Uh,
level.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with kickoff combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Comes with fried shrimp and your choice of soft-shell crab traditional or our famous thin-fried catfish, all served with garlic herb fries, starting at only $10.99. Only at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
It's good! The Saints score! Saints score!
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
All right, guys, it's the best time of year. Football's back. We're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and the glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. This is where your inner GM comes alive. Setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone ridicules in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. Let's be honest, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. This is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ on and off the field. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code New Orleans, that's one word, for 20% off and free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, the crown jewel of entertainment destinations. From the thrill of gaming, where every spin and deal brings you closer to fortune, to the excitement of sports betting, where you can feel the rush of victory. Our spaces and catering menu are perfect for any event. From business meetings to grand celebrations, immerse yourself in our vibrant atmosphere with live music that keeps the party going all night long. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. We had no post-game show, but we're still going to do 3 up and 3 down. Let's start off with you, Nick. Who you have up?
Ooh.
It's
3
a
up?
tough one. I mean, I think you have to. The most obvious up on the list, I think, is definitely Rashid Shaheed. He had a good game, made a lot of plays. I mean, there were a couple things that could have been better, but within the context of the game, I think he was the guy that kind of was most consistently good throughout that game.
Yeah, even though, I mean, he only caught 4 of 9 targets, and as you said, on one of them, he was off the wrong page, and he's still the obvious up in the game. That shows you how rough things were. I'll go down. I'll just stay in the same category, and I'm going to say Mason Tipton. They gave him his chance, and everybody was watching when he failed to deliver. I mean, 4 targets for about a total of 150 air yards, and he ended up with 1 catch for 2 yards. Not saying those would have been easy catches, but on that first one, I thought Derek put it in a great spot, and Mason Tipton ran to another spot. I don't know that automatically means Carr is right and Tipton is wrong, but it shows that it's not so easy to have an undrafted rookie just come in and start catching deep balls. Yeah. And then on the last one, I think he probably got more blame than he deserved. That would have been an amazing, difficult catch, but he didn't come close to making it. And it's like it was a big opportunity for him in a game where they really needed him to come through. Right after they just cut A.T. Perry too, this is the guy that they picked ahead of A.T. Perry. I thought it was a tough chance for him to try to make a name for himself.
As an NFL player, though, like if I'm like this and the ball falls right through my hands and there's a picture of it with the ball going right in between my hands, I can't get there to show sympathy or like, you have to catch that, especially in that. If you're on the field in that situation, I don't care. Like he made the adjustment, so the degree of difficulty was everything before he got there. Like you have to put hands. Like it would have been better if he dropped it, but like it just went right through his hands. Like that's a hard sell for me. I'll go back to the up column. There's another obvious one here.
I don't know why I immediately went down. I forgot we were doing ups.
Go ahead.
No, I hope this isn't the same guy, but Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor is up for me. He wasn't scared. I'm not saying that anybody on the field was scared, but it seemed like the Chiefs were playing in a different tier system than the Saints. Just like, okay, we're going to do whatever we want. Travis Kelce throwing the bag. They trying to drop it off to Travis Kelce, and then Big Cat ended up blowing it up. And then even with Travis Kelce handing off to Worthy for that touchdown, it was like, come on, man. Y'all not even really rolling out your big guns to try to shut the Saints down. But I feel like Alontae Taylor, they had tried something to him, and he straight up blew it up. And I think the intensity and stuff that he plays with is crucial for this defense going forward. So I'm up on him.
He's a good one. The guy I was going to say was Moreau. He had 2 catches, had a touchdown, pass blocked well. I thought he was one of the guys that consistently looked good throughout that game. And again, in a game where there weren't a lot of people looking consistently good.
I mean, I'm a little torn on this one. But since there's not a lot of ups to choose from, obviously I got to go with Colin Saunders for that play. The run back ability, he needed something like that. He was fizzling this year and kind of being forgettable. We wondered if he would make the roster, and he showed great playmaking ability on that. But He's also supposed to be a run defender, and I thought this was one of their worst run defensive performances that we've seen in years, so I can't go too up on him, but kudos on making a big play in a moment when the Saints desperately needed one.
And going back to a minimal up, just like you said, like you can't go all the way up, but I got to give a little bit of credit. Going back to who we talked about earlier, Jake Haener. Like you said, it was a dummy mission. He was coming there set up to fail, but he didn't catastrophically fall apart or just do things where it was like, oh man, this dude stinks. He still was in there and was somewhat serviceable given the situation.
Quick question while we're still sifting through ups. Because you went through the detailed film, and these are guys we didn't talk too much about. My gut tells me Anthony Orji didn't solidify his place ahead of DeMarco Jackson. Bad. What about Jonathan Abram, who got the nod over Jordan Howden? Did he do enough to keep that?
He was okay.
He's up.
He was okay.
Went from the practice squad to leapfrogging Jordan Howden to Will Harris getting hurt. He might be starting this week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was good for anyone. He was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were bad across the board on defense. So, but like Orji was in a different tier, and I don't think any of the safeties. You know, there's Tyron and then there's everybody else. Yeah. So, kind of relatively speaking, okay, but like still not good. So, I'm going to go right to the downs on here, and I'm going to go a combo here. Both guards, I thought Lucas Patrick and Landon Young, it was a bad game. It was a bad game, and then Patrick played some center too, obviously, but bad game for both of them. And
even worse for Nick Saldiveri, who got pulled during the game. I don't even know.
Like it might have looked worse for the other guys because there's more exposure. Yeah. It was bad. It was a bad game.
Yeah, we're talking about replacement players. When I asked you about Howden and Orji, they gave Nick Saldiveri the start in this game. Connor McGovern was on the bench. And then McGovern had to come in at center because Patrick was briefly hurt. And when Patrick was ready to come back in the game, they yanked Saldiveri. What a disappointment for Nick Saldiveri, who went into this offseason as the projected starter at left guard. Mm-hmm. And now he's like 9th in the pecking order, and he finally got a chance to start, and they didn't even let him finish the game. Golly. Howden and him getting demoted in the same game. Yeah. Perry getting cut earlier this week. The 2023 draft class, atrocious. Brian Brzee, Jake Haener, the only ones producing from that class right now. Ooh.
I'm gonna go with Blake Groupie. You can't miss an extra point.
Yep.
You can't miss an extra point. Like in a game like this, you just can't have those type of situations happen.
And I'll go Jamal Williams again. 2 carries for 9 yards. Where is it? They need somebody other than Alvin. And then that decision on the kickoff return where he was like hesitant. Should I take it out? Should I not? The replay showed that he almost put his knee down, might have put his knee down on the 1 yard line. I mean, what's he doing? He's a veteran.
That was brutal. Like horrible. I thought Nate Shepard was a little bit rough. If we were just kind of like, not going versus the other players on the team, I would have Abram as a down probably overall. Yeah. I thought Fuaga had a rough game. Like there's a lot of people that you could go to.
And then, I hate putting this name on here. I really do, because outside of this play, great player, Matthew slipped, and it gave Juju Schuster just incredible runway to be able to get some yards.
50-yard pass.
Yeah, I have to put him out of all the people I could put as a down. I can't overtake that one.
You can't give up 50-yard plays. So even though he's one of the best players on the entire team, you got to point out they gave up a 50-yard
to be fair to him, he was one of the only guys playing good run defense in that game.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's why I said it was hard to do it, but got to be consistent.
Too many of those this year. Oh, my goodness. It's like they're averaging 1 50-yard play a week. This defense is giving up.
Now it's time for the next segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Sticking with the defense, why can't this pass rush turn pressures into tackles for losses or sacks?
Are we continuing 3 up and 3 down? The pass rush. I wrote about it last week as being kind of a nagging problem, and it turned into an epidemic in this game. I mean, that was gross.
Yeah.
How many times they had Mahomes looking dead to rights, and it turned into a 9-yard run, a 9-yard run, a 7-yard run, a long pass, a first down conversion. It wasn't even that they weren't getting sacks and then he escaped and turned it into a 2-yard scramble. They weren't finishing sacks, and it was turning into a first down every time. It was awful.
Yeah, it was. Dude's a freak, though.
Yeah. He is Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
he is Pat Mahomes.
I mean, like he's
different.
Yeah, he's different. This is a hard week to even like.
Yeah.
the degree of difficulty is
Right.
is insane. It's like trying to. Never mind. I'm not even going to use that analogy.
They got him on the ground, but still, it is like, dog, that's Patrick Mahomes. And he had 331, but that's,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
But continuing with that, over the last 3 weeks, I mean, for as much as they not getting to people, they haven't allowed a passing touchdown in the last 3 weeks. The only one was still against CeeDee Lamb in that Dallas
one
game.
touchdown pass allowed this season and 8 interceptions now. Is that what it is? 1 versus 7 or 1 versus 8?
I think, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy work for real. Brian Brzee, he still leads the team with 4 sacks. And then Alontae Taylor's right behind him, 3.5. So we'll have to see. But now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrels like bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's is so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from Greg. Greg asks, are the Saints capable of winning without McCoy and Taysom on the field?
And Derek Carr. I mean, you got to throw him in there too. But like, I guess the question is more: can Spencer Rattler or Jake Winter, Jake Haener
bring
win
down the season?
Yeah, could Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener win without those two on the field? It's tough. It's tough. I think it's one or the other. Like if you had one or the other, like if you have Taysom out there and you want to run the ball and he's lined up in the backfield, that kind of has to slow people down a little bit because they got to see where the ball's going. That just that moment of pause. Where's he going to hand it off to? And that kind of helps a little bit with some of that. It's tough though. I mean, it's a tough situation. Yeah, they can win without both of them, but it's hard, man. Like there's just not enough talent overall. So when you start taking talented players out, I think you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the snowball effect of no McCoy, no Ruiz, and no Taysom makes it even harder. Taysom could help you run behind a lesser offensive line that's not creating big holes because he might be able to plow through and get a few more yards. So many people, even after this Kansas City game, are still like, oh, this offense can't do anything without Taysom Hill. I feel like Eric McCoy's absence has been even harder to overcome, especially paired with the Cesar Ruiz absence, considering the fact that the offensive line was already the weak link of the team before that. But I don't know. Like Taysom Hill doesn't feel like he would have changed anything in the Kansas City game to me. But anybody they can get back, please get him back.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in today. For those who aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe because next up we have the overtime segment. And boy, y'all got it loaded up in here today. So if you want your question answered, join the site, put your question in for overtime. Catch you next time.